Ahoj, dobrý den. Vítejte na mém kanále Czech by Zuzka, kde vás pomocí angličtiny učím českou gramatiku a taky něco navíc. This is another episode on verb prefixes and we are going to talk about roz or roze as a verb prefix. This prefix has various functions and you find a lot of verbs in Czech with this prefix. I'm going to divide the functions of these prefixes into different categories and give you plenty of examples for you to understand, get a full picture of what this prefix is about. And let me tell you, this prefix has a personality. You will see. Jdeme na to. I think this first category describes the personality of this prefix the most. It is movement in different directions, movement away. So when something spreads or just moves into different directions like this. It is a very general description. We could think that some of these verbs could maybe belong into another subcategory. But let me remind you, these categories might not work 100%. It's just to separate the function of the prefix into categories, just to give you an idea how colorful each prefix can be. As usual, we will start with motion verbs. Rozejít se. We are using the vocalized version of the prefix roze. We added e for an easier pronunciation. Rozejít se. Jít is to walk, yes. And rozejít se means when you walk in different directions. It's not talking about one person, but about a group of people that just split and each of them went their own way, their own direction. So exactly like this. Po oslavě se všichni rozešli do svých domovů. After the celebration, everybody went to their homes. Po oslavě se všichni rozešli do svých domovů. And that means they went on foot. If we wanted to emphasize that they drove, because it was a little bit further, then we could say rozjeli se. Po oslavě se všichni rozjeli do svých domovů. If you say po oslavě všichni šli domů, it works too, but once you say rozešli, you are emphasizing that they just went left, right, north, east. Of course, we could have other motion verbs, but I'm not going to talk about them here. You can find them in the worksheet again. Rozloučit se. This verb means to say goodbye. Rozloučit se. Jdeme se rozloučit s babičkou a dědečkem. Let's go say goodbye to grandma and grandpa. Jdeme se rozloučit s babičkou a dědečkem. This would often take the preposition s, rozloučit se s, plus the instrumental, to part with someone. Rozhlédnout se. Rozhlédnout se means this, to look in different directions. Even when you want to cross the street, although technically you just look left and right, but also it's various directions, more than one, so that applies too. Než přejdeš ulici, rozhlédni se. Before crossing the street, look both ways. Look around. Než přejdeš ulici, rozhlédni se. Rozdělat. This comes from the verb dělat, of course. You could say like undo. Often it means open, but it's actually a very vague Czech term, Czech verb that we use very often. It's informal, it's nothing very specific. It just means to open something, to undo something. Like this, for example. Nemůžu to rozdělat. Prosím tě, rozděláš mi to? Nemůžu to rozdělat. I can't open it. Prosím tě, rozděláš mi to? Can you open it for me, please? Can you undo it for me, please? Rozděláš. I could also say otevřeš, but rozdělat is so common. Rozdělat. Think about this movement again. You want to open this and kind of move it into two different sides. And the same case would be with the verb rozbalit. Rozbalit comes from balit, which is to wrap. Now we are close to Christmas, so balit dárky is to wrap, pack presents. Rozbalit is to unwrap those presents or open them. Rozbalit is to open something that has been wrapped. Let's say you meet a friend before Christmas and you give them a present, but it's not Christmas Eve yet. So your friend says, yeah, děkuju, já si to rozbalím až pod stromečkem. Oh, thank you. But I won't unwrap it, I won't open it until the Christmas Eve. We say pod stromečkem, under the Christmas tree. Já si to rozbalím až pod stromečkem. And here I want to show you one more verb. It's also perfective. I just put it here because there was not much space left. Rozprodat is here to demonstrate how this prefix would work exactly with this picture that I drew. Prodat, you might know, is to sell, right? Prodat is also perfective. Rozprodat means that you are not gonna sell it to one person. You're gonna sell it to several people. And you are not selling just one thing, but several things. And each thing goes to a different person, different direction. If somebody is broke, they're selling off their possessions. Rozprodal všechen majetek. He sold off all his possessions. Rozprodal všechen majetek. Rozprodal. Jdeme na další kategorii. Next category. The second category could be also considered as a subcategory of the first one. They have something in common and something that makes them different, so I decided it would be better to make it as a separate category. The function of the prefix in these verbs is breaking something up or dividing, like this. Most of these verbs I write here and in the videos focus on prefixes in general are perfective, but keep in mind that we also have their imperfective counterparts most of the time. And you can find them in my worksheet. The first verb is rozejít se, yet again. So rozejít se has two meanings, and the second meaning is to break up. Monika se rozešla s Karlem. Monika broke up with Karel. Monika se rozešla s Karlem. Or we could say rozešli se, they broke up. If you say who broke up with who, then you would add the s preposition. Then we have a more serious verb, rozvést se, that would be to get a divorce. The perfective form is rozvést se, and rozvádět se is imperfective, to be getting a divorce. Jeho rodiče se rozvádí. His parents are getting a divorce, they are getting divorced. Jeho rodiče se rozvádí. Rozpůlit is this. Let me show you. Tady mám jablko a já ho rozpůlím. Rozpůlila jsem jablko. I cut the apple in half. Rozpůlit. Divide into two halves. Rozpůlím jablko. I will cut the apple in half. Rozpůlila jsem jablko. I cut the apple in half. Rozdělit or rozdělit se. To split. But not in a relationship. Just to go to different places. That's one meaning. Rozdělíme se. We'll split. I'll go this way, you'll go that way. But it has a second meaning. This specific sentence has not much of a context. Rozdělíme se also means we will share. Rozdělíme se. Já si vezmu jednu půlku, ty si vezmeš druhou půlku. We will share. Rozdělíme se. Rozbít or rozbít se means to break, to shatter, or simply stop working when something breaks down. We could think of this picture, also the previous one, when something breaks, shatters, and each piece goes into a different direction, like when you break a glass. Rozbila jsem skleničku, I broke a glass. Rozbila jsem skleničku. Ne, to vám nebudu ukazovat. But it is definitely very helpful to be more graphic when explaining the prefixes. I'm going to show you with the verb rozlepit. You probably remember what lepit means because I've mentioned it several times. Lepit means to glue, to stick. Slepit is to stick together. Nalepit is to stick on. Rozlepit is to unstick when two things are stuck together, for example, like this. This is an envelope, tohle obálka. A co v ní je? Ta obálka je slepená. Já ji rozlepím. Spíš roztrhnu. Ale rozlepím obálku. Rozlepuju obálku. Rozlepila jsem obálku. A podíváme se, co v ní je. Peníze. Jenom 400? Cože? Zlostí jsem roztrhala obálku. Rozházela jsem kousky obálky po pokoji. Tak jsem se rozlobila. I got so angry. Rozlepit. Rozlepila jsem obálku. I opened the envelope that was glued together. I could also say rozdělala jsem obálku with the previous word. Rozdělat. Roztrhat is to tear apart. Zlostí jsem obálku roztrhala. I tore up the envelope in anger. Rozházela jsem kousky obálky po pokoji. Well, rozházet would be more like the previous category because it really went in more than 2 directions. I scattered the pieces of the envelope around the room. Dneska sněžilo. Rozfoukala jsem sníh. I blew the snow into different directions. A teď ten sníh roztál and the snow melted. Kdo to teď bude uklízet? Tak co, dobrý? Understood so far? One of the functions of the prefix ros is also an initiation, starting something or make somebody feel something, make somebody do something. It can refer to a change of state too. All of these verbs that I wrote are perfective, even this one. I wanted to show you how they differ when we use them with an object and without an object. Rozjet se also has a second meaning. So besides riding, driving to different parts, rozjet se also means to start something, to start a process. And this actually doesn't go with se, my mistake. Pardon. Rozjet se without any object means to start going, to start moving. For example, vlak se rozjel. The train started moving. Vlak se rozjel. You could also say rozeběhnout se, to start running, but not rozejít se. It would not have this function. Also, an important thing to mention, rozjet se doesn't only describe vehicles moving, but also people. Not that people would have wheels, right? But when they start talking or brainstorming or creating ideas so quickly, when they, for example, become so creative, you can tell them, ty ses ale rozjel, ty ses ale rozjela. Wow, you really got into this. You really started moving. It's a positive thing. And when you say rozjet něco, to start something, that something would be as a direct object, accusative case. For instance, a project. Po Vánocích rozjedeme ten projekt. We will start the project after the Christmas. So rozjedeme is a little bit informal Czech. And it means that you're really gonna start, really work on it. We also use this verb when it comes to starting a party or to really start having fun. Dneska to rozjedeme. Today we're gonna start the fun. Teď to rozjedeme. Let's get the party started. Rozmluvit nebo rozmluvit se. To really get into it and start talking. For example, when a student starts taking Czech lessons and then he or she finally starts talking. Not that they would not talk before, but they really got into the conversation after several lessons. They lost their barriers and now they are not afraid of speaking. Student se po 5 lekcích rozmluvil. The student became more fluent or lost their fear of talking. Rozesmát means to make laugh, and rozesmát se is to start laughing, to burst into laughter. So that's why I keep putting the se in parentheses, because it makes a difference whether that person himself or herself start doing something, student se rozmluvil, or somebody else made them do it. If I say učitel, učitelka rozmluvila studenta, it would not have the se. The same here. Celé publikum se rozesmálo. The whole audience burst into laughter. Rozesmálo se. Celé publikum se rozesmálo. We talk about them laughing. But if you say that somebody else made them laugh, then it doesn't have the se. Bavič rozesmál celé publikum. The entertainer made the whole audience burst into laughter. He made them laugh. Bavič rozesmál celé publikum. Rozplakat or rozbrečet. These both mean to cry. And it's the same thing. When somebody starts crying, it's with se. And if somebody makes them cry, it's without se. And then you have to mention the subject and the object. Who made whom cry? What is the difference between them? Rozplakat is maybe a little bit more formal. Something that we use more in books. And rozbrečet is slightly more informal. I would say that people use rozbrečet a little bit more when they speak, but it could also be regional. Anička se rozbrečela. Anička started crying. She burst into tears. Anička se rozbrečela. If we say who made her cry, then we say Tomáš rozbrečel Aničku. And the last one is rozsvítit. Svítit. Svítit means to produce light. Rozsvítit is to turn on the light, to start giving the light. Můžeš prosím rozsvítit? Can you please turn on the light? And we don't say světlo, because svítit already means to make light. Můžeš prosím rozsvítit? Remember in one of the videos I told you zhasni, which is to turn off the light. So I'm gonna show you. Zhasni, turn off the light. Rozsviť, turn on the light. I haven't talked about pronunciation, but you might have noticed that sometimes I pronounce the z as z, like here, rozjet se, z, rozmluvit se, z. But here it's rozplakat se, because of the combination with p, which is voiceless. So this is something to keep in mind, that sometimes it is pronounced as roz, sometimes as roz, if the following consonant is voiced, like here. Or here, rozbrečet, rozbrečet, rozplakat. Rozplakat, rozbrečet. I don't know if you can hear the difference. S, rozplakat, z, rozbrečet. And here, because the z and s are together, this would be pronounced as s. We pronounce it as just one s. So we say rozsvítit, rozsvítit. We don't say rozsvítit or rozsvítit. We just say rozsvítit. Our last category gathers verbs with roz with the function of cognition or recognition skills. These are verbs related to thinking. I bet you know what rozumět means. Rozumět means to understand. Ano, přesně tak. We could think that it comes from roz and umět. Umět is to be able to know how to do something. And when you are capable of making distinction, then you understand certain things. Rozumět is to understand. Remember that if you want to follow with an object, it has to be dative, so indirect object. Rozumím tomu, I understand it. Rozumím tomu, nerozumím tomu, I don't understand it. Nerozumím tomu. Tomu is dative, as well as when you want to say rozumím ti, I understand you. Rozpoznat actually has two prefixes. Znát is the base, to know, znát, and poznat and rozpoznat. Poznat and rozpoznat are very close, but rozpoznat has this movement, this, separation, to tell something apart, to identify or recognize where something belongs, in which category, what it is. For example, when it's dark and you cannot see much, you can say, něco vidím, ale nedokážu to rozpoznat. I see something, but I can't identify what it is. Něco vidím, ale nedokážu to rozpoznat. Rozhodnout se, rozhodnout doesn't have to be reflexive. To decide, rozhodnout. Again, you are considering one option, another option, you are looking in different directions. See how it is all connected to the first category. Nemůžu se rozhodnout. I can't decide. Nemůžu se rozhodnout. If somebody decides something for somebody else, then it goes without se. And the last verb is rozmyslet si. Myslet means to think. Rozmyslet si means that you changed your mind. Rozmyslela jsem si to. I changed my mind. Rozmyslela jsem si to. You can think of the same picture that I drew at the beginning. Rozmyslet. You're thinking of one option, the other option, the third option, and you decide for one option, but then you change your mind. Rozmyslela jsem si to. Can you see what I meant by prefix roz having a personality? We often talk about breaking something and destroying something, changing something, running away. There's a lot of movement, emotions. It's a very interesting prefix. And I hope that these examples from the video were useful for you. If you have any questions or any other ideas with the verb starting with roz, you can write a comment and share with me and others. This was just a sample of the verbs starting with this prefix, but also there is a worksheet which contains more examples, actually has one more category, which is not that important, but it's useful when you're on a higher level of Czech. You might have noticed I mentioned reflexive verbs, so if you would like to refresh this topic, you can also watch this video. Or if you want to go through the playlist on prefixes, you can find it here. A to je všechno. Mějte se fajn a uvidíme se příští týden. Čau, čau.